Hi, and welcome to Church of Aliens. In this episode, um, we're going to be reviewing the new movie by Tom Delonge, Monsters of California. It was released, I believe, on the 6th of October, um, and it was only available in the US. So here in the UK, I had to, little little website helped me out, and I was able to see it. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really liked the movie. Um, Even though, I do have some a bit of criticism, I would say, about it. But basically, we'll just get into what the movie is about and the story. Just three friends. The main character, Dallas, he has a father who's supposedly gone missing for most of his life, and he supposedly worked on some secret government program, and he's just desperate to find more about his father and contact the supernatural. He's very sincere about wanting to find answers to this um, missing part of his life. And these friends eventually do have paranormal experiences, which is quite funny, and I thought was done really well. And then they get involved with some government agents, I would call them. I think the guys from Starship Troopers, which is pretty cool. I love that movie. And they they get involved with this guy who's involved, who I think is his uncle, Dallas's uncle, and he's trying to keep secret and cover up this whole phenomenon, this UFO sort of phenomenon going on. And he knows that his father had some secret information that he might have left behind. The kids discover this GPS tracking sort of phone and some documents, and in this phone, they can find all the coordinates to certain hotspots, paranormal UFO hotspots all over the world, and they become interested in trying to find one where they can investigate. And they basically go to one which is pretty funny, where in a cave where Bigfoot is, and that was probably like my favorite sort of scene. That was quite funny and it's spooky as well. It was pretty cool, and and then eventually they just it just the story sort of develops, and he finds some Dallas finds a romance in a lady that visits the town, and then they eventually want to discover more about this. The government agents try to stop them, and then eventually Dallas and basically everyone get to see a UFO, and based on a location of this GPS that was given to him, and Dallas has his long-awaited experience with a UFO. Um, and the experience was pretty interesting. I mean, I thought, based on what I've been listening to Tom DeLonge, it was going to be quite like a negative sort of take on UFOs, but I sort of understand it differently now. And yeah, he has his experience, and generally that's basically the story. With giving spoilers out, that's what happens. Is the climax is really him having experience with the UFOs and figuring out information about his dad and about this whole world of the paranormal. Um, so yeah, I'll give my take on what I think about the movie. So you can tell it is like a B movie. It is, like Sharknado. Those type. It's a little bit like that. I would say like my only criticism is that the acting isn't very good. I thought the main character and the mum wasn't acted very well. I thought his friends acted way better. I think they should have probably gotten the lead role. And but apart from that, I mean, that is a huge accomplishment for Tom DeLonge, just being in a band, directing his first movie. I just thought, oh, wow, that is amazing. If it's this good now, I can imagine studios wanted to get involved, and what would happen in the release of the Chasing Shadows TV show. I mean, I think it's going to get better and better, better quality, better storytelling, better production, better acting. But just with the movie itself, I think it was, to me, it was a very sort of fun movie. It had, a lot of Steven Spielberg vibes with the soundtrack and how different scenes were edited, and it sort of gave this sort of feeling that it's like an adventure for these kids. It's like an adventure for somebody to go and trying to find answers in the supernatural, which I thought was cool. I thought it was going to be a bit more sort of in the negative side, more dark and scary in that sense, but it wasn't, which was really cool to see. And yeah, I thought it was amazing. What It's like Tom DeLonge's first movie. I thought, wow, that's pretty amazing. I wonder what he's going to do next. It'll be a lot better, I think. Um, so yeah, and then I'm just going to go into some key points that I thought were really stood out for me, and I thought was really interesting. I'd like to discuss, and basically the main ones for me was when um, when the boys uh, were having paranormal experiences, these idea of frequency, connecting to the right frequency. And in the first scene, if you haven't seen the movie, there's going to be all spoilers. But in the first scene of the movie, they go to a location where uh, the rumor is that there's some haunted spirit there, some apparition, and they're trying to film it and detect it, and they they uh, they start talking about frequency, how to connect to it, and then his friend, I can't remember his name. It's not the main character. He starts getting angrier and angrier, talking out loud to connect to this spirit, calling the spirit a dickhead, and just getting angry. So I could understand that from that perspective. The more um, of your emotion you're putting out of anger, you might receive it back in like in this apparition. So then this sort of ghost, it was done really well. I thought it was going to be shit, but it was done really well. This apparition came all over it's like a weird looking goblin face from Spider-Man, but like as a spirit sort of going around the building and the house, and they actually do see it, and it just goes all over the house. And um, so that was a quite an interesting sort of take on it. And I've heard Tom DeLonge share this before, that he was mentioning a story where um, a group of paranormal investigators were doing a séance, and I think it was with Jacques Vallée. I'm not sure, but he does mention it in an interview, and how they were in this séance, and the temperature got very cold, like in the movie, and the temperature got really cold, and everyone was quite scared, but certain people were very scared, and then the people that were very scared, within 6 months, all died, and then I think it was only two of them that didn't. They remained calm, not as scared, and their emotion wasn't, terrified. And I think he was trying to get across that this phenomenon really plays into what you're feeling, what sort of energy and frequency you're giving out. And it was funny to see in a movie just this, you know, um, Dallas's friend just going crazy, like yelling, trying to get the attention of this sort of paranormal entity, and it did. And that entity was really sort of, screaming, making noise, dragging people around, and so that was a really cool idea. I thought that was done really well. Um, and then another thing that I sort of picked up on was when when the boys wanted to, I think it was Dallas, wanted to connect with the dad more after this scene. They were in the room, and he really sincerely wanted to connect with the dad, and because he's thinking he's died or he doesn't know what happened. And what I sort of saw within the movie was the sincerity and your authentic feeling and emotion attracts this. And when Dallas closed his eyes and was really sort of asking for an answer from his dad to help him, he then uh, sort of, I think some papers fell from a box, and in there he found the files and this GPS device. So I thought that was really cool, really well done. How they tell that sort of idea in a story, how being authentic and sincere, wanting to connect to this spiritual, supernatural realm and entities can really work. And I've heard this before, also with health specialists saying that this feeling of being authentic is one of the most powerful feelings and frequencies you can feel and give out. It really influences the world around you and people and yourself. So I thought that was quite intriguing. I really like seeing that. Um, the other key that I want to talk about was the lists of locations and paranormal hotspots. I thought that was really cool. Um, so basically, they find this GPS device from his dad, and it has all coordinates with paranormal hotspots or where UFOs might have been. And they go to a cave where there's Bigfoot. And it was just like, it sort of gave the idea to me that there's this whole other realm and this whole other existence of different varied beings in the world that you can have an experience with, whether it's horrible or weird or great, but they're here living, And I thought that was really well done, because I was starting to think, even in the mini docu-series that To the Stars put out with Lou Elizondo, where they go to specific locations, and they say that even here in this island off Mexico, they keep seeing, um, uh, what do they say? They said, I don't know if it was Fatima or another sort of religious icon that the villagers and the people of that town constantly see. They experience this sort of being there in this island or near there, and it's in Mexico somewhere. And then they go to the island, and the fishermen also have seen lots of UFOs and lights going into the mountain, coming out of it. And they mention how the sharks and the the wildlife there, for some reason, are larger than normal. It had to do something with the poles and the magnetic shift. I don't know, something I can't remember exactly, but it was really interesting to see how, if that was really true, in this movie, how there would be a government or a non-government agency or people just that know certain locations, and at certain times there's going to be paranormal activity. That to me is bizarre, because it is mirroring how nature is. You could say at this certain time and this location, you're going to see bears hunting wild salmon. You're going to see, giraffes um, going across a field somewhere. They're traveling to a certain location. Um, so yeah, it was really, really sort of opened my mind to that, where you sort of think about UFOs, it just happens without really, just by chance. And it would be interesting to see if really if this um, happens, periodically, and you can actually track them, and has locations. I thought that was really interesting, and that also, for example, in this scene, that Bigfoot was in caves, and it reminded me of um, this YouTube series called Hellier, which I recommend. I was obsessed with it. Um, it was a few years ago, I think 3 years ago, but it has loads of episodes. But if you guys watch Hellier, It's all about how, certain people in towns of Kentucky, somewhere in Kentucky, in the middle of nowhere, really, in these mining tunnels. Some residents contact this YouTube paranormal team that they're seeing goblins in the caves, and they're kidnapping people, killing people, and some of the town folk are involved in this. They're being seen doing rituals, and they investigate this whole thing. And it's amazing. I would say I would really recommend Hellier for anyone who's interested in the paranormal. But it kind of connected me with that, with how a lot of paranormal sort of stories are linked to caves, and the idea of goblins or elves. It was really fascinating to see in this movie. Um, and the other key thing that I was really interested in was in the story they meet this. I think it's a scientist. Yeah, it's not a professor. It's a scientist that worked with the dad who's gone missing or dead, and he explains in one of the scenes they go to his secluded house. It explains how all this paranormal activity is linked to the world's religions, and it's seen all over Twitter, UFO Twitter. This image of how this certain circles, and how um, the angels, demons, the devas, and something else. It's all connected to the others, and then how the world's religions is all connected through this. And he explains in the movie, the the scientist explains it, not too well. I thought it was pretty surface level explanation, but I thought it was cool to see that in the movie, where, and it's something that Tom DeLonge has talked about loads in interviews, how these entities are influencing directly religions to influence human beings, um, and how you can even, when in the last scene, the scientist does another sort of monologue where he talks about the only way to fight back against these is using consciousness, morality, and free will, which I thought was quite interesting. I don't know what you guys think, but yeah, using morality and free will, I mean, that's kind of crazy. But you do get the idea from this movie that these, like at least some of them, are in a conflict with human beings, or using human beings in a proxy war. Um, but yeah, it was cool to see in a movie all this stuff that you read about in Chasing Shadows and the interviews with Tom DeLonge. Um, and yeah, the last sort of key um, key point that I thought was interesting was around the last scene. They're in a military base because they have a location of when this UFO will appear, and it's a certain time, a location. They go to this military base, and they're going through it, and one of the, I think Toe, he goes into a room, and he sees gray aliens all lined up there in body bags, and he freaks out, and one of them turns around as if they're alive. Um, that sort of reminded me of Chasing Shadows. Basically, in there, the story is that these gray aliens, at least some of them, are being used by the government to lie to the human beings, to do tests. They're even in they have like zippers, and um, they're not really from out of space. They're used by either government agencies or non-government agencies. Um, and I don't know what the end is for that, to really sort of create some sort of illusion about what UFOs are, or try to sort of have a test to see how humans react to this type of supernatural, or these sort of grey alien beings. It was quite weird. I don't know exactly where to take that, but it was cool to see the grey aliens there in the base, and then they leave. They're trying to leave the base to go to this location, and and this military base has a huge silver UFO. And I did notice, if I remember correctly, it zooms out and it does have a Nazi bell. They see it. You can see they're in a Humvee trying to escape. There's a huge silver UFO there, and beside it is the Nazi bell, which I thought was crazy. I couldn't believe they put that there. But yeah, it kind of tells you, like, if you could sort of assume that the U.S. military use UFOs with these gray aliens that could be either from some other dimension or place, or it's something that humans have created, um, like clones, something like that, and they have the Nazi bell or something along those lines, which would mean that the Nazis really did create the Nazi bell and were able to travel inside it or use it, you know, which reminds me of Will Farrell. Oh, not Will Farrell, Joseph P. Farrell, the author that has written many books about this. Um, if you want to go into that lane, I recommend Joseph P. Farrell about the Nazis and UFOs. But I thought that was really, really awesome. Um, and then the last experience that Dallas has is basically him. Um, Basically, the scientist tells him that this is his experience to have, and it reminds me of, like, this is some sort of ritual. That's how I understood it. It's like how Freemasons create this atmosphere, this environment, completely different to what you're not usually accustomed to, and you have this experience that's beyond your control. You're just experiencing it, and you gain lessons and understanding from it. Same in other religions do this as well, Christianity, baptism, and so on. But I understood it like that. Like Dallas was having this sort of ritual experience, and he was understanding something. And then once he has it, he sees inside the ship, and it's way bigger than just the ship. He's like in a landscape somewhere in space, seeing all the planets and the universe. But you don't know exactly what his interpretation was, what he actually. You just see that inside this is another world. Um, so I thought that was quite well done. I thought it was very entertaining. I think just telling the story about UFOs from Tom's perspective, and based on what he knows, and um, you can tell at the end of the movie the credits are all Jim Savivan, Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, Hal Puthoff. So these people are sort of, you can tell, they're influencing his point of view. But even then, I still think it's a cool movie. I recommend you guys watch it. And then I'm going to put at the end here a clip of Tom DeLonge in I think it's on YouTube. He sort of mentions a bit about the movie and what it means to him and why he made it. So I thought that was really interesting. So you can guys watch that, and let me know your thoughts, whether you like the movie or not, or whether it was even worth watching, because there's been a lot of bad reviews online. But yeah, let me know in the comments below. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next week.
Dallas has a line in the film, which I remember, I wrote it down right after he said it. He goes, just by using our intention, how we choose to feel, I believe it can really change things. That's a really fascinating way to look at life and kind of our intentions and how we do things. What does that line mean to you, just on a personal level?
Well, the more you look into kind of the tip of the spear with the studies on consciousness, we're realizing that consciousness doesn't exist within the mind. Consciousness is a permeating force. It's literally like Star Wars. It's like the Force, and it can be used for good or bad. So your body and your brain, your entire being is what they call a transducer of your environment. So you're like an antenna, and you're tuned into a radio station. And whatever you choose to think, or whatever station you choose to tune into, is going to come through you and emanate out, and physical matter is created for an experience. So literally, whatever you feel and think, quantum physics is now discovering that your physical reality is based on your thoughts. And in the movie, it's very much kind of got this backstory of we have to learn that, you know, fear and happiness and love and all these different things that we choose to dwell on is what's going to make your life experience. It's not that you're a product of your reality. The reality is a product of your thoughts. So, and
It's
that has to do a lot.
fascinating.
Has to do a lot with UFO. I mean, when you get into the whole UFO research side of things, it's really strange. You will end up there, and you'll start to realize why things are coming here and what's important about humanity. And it literally is the soul, and that's why all the ancient religions are talking about these things that come here and they're interested in our souls, you know. And we're really special. Once we learn this, we'll stop kind of creating bad physical reality, I guess.